to Diane's Homestyle Cooking. Today we're going to make Taco 15 bean soup. You're going to need a 20-ounce package of the 15 bean soup. You'll also need one large can of spicy hot V8 juice, which is 11.5 ounces. You're going to need one large onion, roasted beef base, 1.5 pounds of hamburger, and taco seasoning mix. Now I really do like to buy my taco seasoning mix from Costco because they give you quite a lot and the price is really good. So if you're looking for a larger container of taco seasoning mix, I suggest that you look at Costco, and they could have it at Sam's and all of these other warehouses. I'm going to be doubling my recipe today, and the reason I like to do that is because I like to prepare for our camping trips. So to begin with, we're going to need one large onion, and I'm just going to chop it up. There's many good reasons to add beans to your diet. My husband grew up on a lot of beans when he was a child. He tells me that he thinks that he's very healthy today because of all the beans he ate as a child. We had beans periodically, like baked beans. They were more on the sweeter side, and also I can remember being made with molasses. But as kids, you know, sometimes kids don't always like everything, and I always seem to enjoy the beans that came from a can. I think they were the brown beans, and I think it was B&W that made them. And I like that in the Northeast, I know that they sell the brown bread that also comes in a can. But I found it up here also in Washington at the commissary. And so I used to like to have some brown bread with my beans. And also we had applesauce on the side. And at times we also had the hot dogs. My mom would roast some hot dogs in the skillet, and we'd have some hot dogs on the side with our beans. So to me, I did enjoy that very much. I love that the beans just have so much nutrition in them. So I really try to find a soup that I can make for all of these different packages of beans. So if you do like beans, or you're just not sure what to make, I'm going to, over time, make different soups that you can try. So I hope that you'll give them a try, and then maybe you can add them to your diet and get the benefits of these beans. Did you all grow up on a lot of beans when you were younger? My mother-in-law, she always had a pot of pinto beans on. And one day I'm going to try to make them exactly the way that she made them. And I can remember leaving Massachusetts and then going to Texas when my husband took me to meet his family. And that was the first time I had the pinto beans. Now, I really did enjoy her recipe, and I think it was because it wasn't on the sweeter side. For me, it wasn't. And I always ate her beans. And my husband could never get enough of them. And my father-in-law, he used to think if my mother-in-law just had a pot of beans and cornbread, and I don't know if she put the meat on the side, but he was quite happy with his cornbread and pinto beans. So when I used to go down there to take care of him, after my mother-in-law passed, I was always making cornbread for my father-in-law. And I used to make maybe about 12 different loaves of cornbread just to be sure that he'd have a slice to go with his meals. Because it was just something that he grew up with since he was a kid. And cornbread was a staple for the Southern people. I told my mother-in-law I would do my best to take care of him if she passed before him. But nobody could make cornbread better than my mother-in-law. She took a lot of pride in her cooking. And we both kid each other because we both made different recipes for our family, but she was always willing to try a new recipe. I never seen anybody have so many subscriptions to so many different magazines, but that was her passion, cooking. And I certainly do love cooking, so every time I go and visit them, I was always looking through her magazines and get my pencil and paper out, or pen, and I was always looking for a new recipe that I could take at home and try. So I used to like to sit at her dining room table and just go through her magazines and find something that I would like to use at home. That was a lot of fun. So just one large onion. Pick the largest onion you can find. Like I said, I'm going to be doubling my recipe because I need to prepare these soups for our camping trip. So I like to save time, and wherever I can save time, I'm always trying to save time. So if I can double up on recipes, I do. And I'll tell you, it's so nice and it's so convenient, because when you're looking for something to eat and you've been busy, you've been gone, or it may be that you're just working, it's so nice to know that you have extra stuff in your freezer that you can just pull out and eat. So I really do enjoy that. Okay. I really made a mess. But that's the joy of cooking, isn't it? I'm not gonna always be perfect. I always say, just have fun and don't worry about anything else. Just have fun. It's only a mess. You can pick it up. I think sometimes if we look for perfection, nothing's ever going to happen. So don't do that to yourself. Don't look for perfection. Just do the best that you know how to do. Okay, so now I'm going to now that the onions are chopped, we're going to go to the stove top. We're going to add a little bit of olive oil. We're going to saute these a little bit. Then I'm going to add 1.5 pounds of ground beef. To begin, we're going to add some olive oil to the pan. And for your single recipe, you'll have 1 large onion. I'm going to saute my onions over medium to high heat, and I'm just going to cook them until they're softened. So as you can see, I softened the onion. So now I'm going to add 1.5 pounds of ground beef. But since I'm going to be doubling my recipe, I'm going to add another package of ground beef. And you just want to keep cutting it up to smaller pieces so you don't have all these large chunks in the pan. So I'm just going to break up the ground beef as the best that I can. And then I'm also going to drain the fat from the beef. Now I'm going to add my second package. I also get my ground beef from Costco, and that's where I get my 1.5 pounds of organic ground beef. So my ground beef is all cooked, looking good. but I definitely like to drain all the fat to make it a little bit healthier. So what I'm gonna do is just strain it into this bowl. So just do the best that you can to get all the fat out. For the single recipe, you're going to need a half a cup of taco seasoning mix. And since I am doubling the recipe, I'm going to add another half a cup. Just going to mix this really well. And once you stir the taco seasoning mix in well, you're going to add 1 can of the spicy hot V8 juice, 11.5 ounces. One thing I really like about this soup also, if you have a large family, this recipe goes a long way. So I'm adding a second one due to me doubling the recipe. So as you can see, I chopped up my hamburger pretty well. You're going to need 9 teaspoons of the roasted beef base. I doubled my beef base because, as I said, I'm doubling my soup, but you'll need 9 teaspoons. I love using this mug with my hot shot because it's just easy to collect the water and then I just pour it into whatever size cup. But what I'm gonna do is pour some of this water in here. I just like to mix my beef base really well before I add it into the pan. I'm going to add the rest. I'm just going to mix this real well. Now you're going to need 8 cups of water. And in my case, I'm going to need a total of 16 cups of water. Just want to mix it really well. I'm going to bring my temperature on the stove top to nearly almost high heat. I just want to get this to a boil. So next you're going to need your large package of the 15 bean soup. And I also removed the seasoning mix. And then you're going to want to wash your beans. And just make sure there's no little pebbles in your beans. I'm going to add another package since I'm doubling my recipe. And I'm going to bring the pot to a boil, and then I'm going to reduce the heat to simmer, and I'm going to cover it for 1.5 hours. If you're making a single recipe, you want to follow the same directions, but check your soup after 1 hour. Just want to make sure that your beans are nice and soft. So when I am bringing it to a boil, I like to keep the lid on so it doesn't take forever to come to a boil. Now you can see it came to a boil. I added my second package of beans since I was doubling it. I reduced my heat to simmer, and I'm going to set the timer for 1 hour, and periodically I'm going to come and just stir my beans around. I'm just going to leave my lid on and leave a little crack. So I'm going to set my timer for 1 hour, but I'm going to come back and stir it. It's pretty easy to make, and I hope you all do enjoy this recipe. I just love it. Look at all the color this soup has. It's so nutritious for you. It really does taste delicious. So that's what the soup will look like. You just want to cook it until your beans are nice and soft. Once your beans are softened, then your soup is done. What I like to do is put my soup into the refrigerator overnight, and I just like to let all the spices just blend in well together, and then I really enjoy it the next day, but you can also have it right away. Then I'll end up storing it away in containers, and then I just mark my containers. So I'll just put taco soup on this one, and then when I'm ready to go camping, I'll just take them out and put them into my freezer and have some soup ready. I also like to serve 2 pieces of wheat bread with this soup. It really does look really delicious, and it's very tasty at the same time. Thank you so much for watching.